Hola and hello to the Sabina the Latina podcast, your guide to all things Latina, Latina culture, Latina art, and Latina lifestyle. I am a Latino educator. I'm also a filmmaker, actor, director, and producer. Before we jump in, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share the podcast with your friends and anyone interested in Latina culture and lifestyle. Today we're diving into the intersection of tradition and modern creativity, and I'm thrilled to have a very special guest joining us. Anthony de Cruz, a multi-talented actor, composer, filmmaker who can be seen on Netflix, Amazon, and network TV and commercials. Welcome, Anthony de Cruz.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to just give us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a composer, musician turned actor, kind of by circumstance. I didn't really set out to be an actor. That wasn't really in my vision. I did stuff when I was younger and I was cool, high school plays and whatever, but I actually have a unique background here. I'm classically trained, in theory and piano and everything like that. But I was so sick of it when I graduated high school. 8 years of training, and I was like, state accredited stuff and all that BS. But I was so sick of it. I for 10 years I dropped music completely. Like, I'm not doing this. I had a guitar. I would play. I'm a multi-instrumentalist, so I would play guitar for myself. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not playing. And then about 10 years of doing the corporate world, I'm like, this sucks. I don't care how much you pay me. I had stock options, working for a major bank and doing all that. And I was like, one day I wake up in the boardroom, which is why they call it a boardroom, I think. And I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm like, oh my God, I got to quit, And so I cashed out some stocks, bought equipment and went for the music thing, And I spent about 10 years of trying to get it going, and good things happened, where I got to play the Troubadour in Hollywood and got to, play the House of Blues San Diego. But then I get to a point where, I was fortunate. I'm in a band that we're doing an EP, and I got to film at Westlake Studios where they did, Thriller and, Marilyn Manson, Limp Bizkit, Mary J. All this stuff was done there. Even like Frank Sinatra was, recorded there. A lot of history there. It's not till I go home and I look up this guy, and it's like, oh my God, he's been in Mad Men, The Seat of Chucky.
What?
He's opposite.
Who was it?
His name is Steve West. He's super brilliant,
from
nice guy.
Mad Men.
Brilliant guy.
Love
I've seen him in commercials. Then I'm seeing him in the store when I'm shopping, like on the package. I'm like, oh my God, I work with this guy. And so, that kind of gave me like the feeling of like, you know what, maybe, you're working with, this guy. You've gotten these 3 jobs pretty quickly. And so my 4th gig was a feature film, starring Tom Sizemore, Bai Ling, and Vivica Fox. And then I didn't get the part, but they liked me and they wrote a part for me, which is crazy. And
that almost never happens,
right?
Anthony. That's great.
I guess I'm meant to be here, as things have happened even today that I'm sure we'll get to. But so to wrap this all up at this point is that I go do this feature film out in the desert. This dude who's supposed to be doing the scene with me, and his car had broken down, and like we're north of LA, so I picked him in LA, and we get out to the desert, and I'm like going over the lines, because I'm like, I want to be, on point for my first feature film, and speaking role, and they wrote this part all in Spanish for me. I was like, well, it was in English, but I had to translate it to Spanish. I was a bodyguard assassin, and so we're going to the set, and I go, hey, you want to run lines, And his name is Jose Rosette. He's done some great stuff. And, and he's like, I wanted some lines, and he's like, nah, man. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I was like, I'm like new to this. He's a pro, I guess, and he's like, no, every time we get to set, dude, 90% of the time they change the script on you, man. So I don't try to learn it too hard. And I'm like, okay, whatever, bro. So we get there, and, my scene was with Vivica Fox in my back seat.
Wow.
Like, what the heck? And no lie, we're getting ready. We're all set. They're about ready to roll, and then it's like, wait, oh yeah, that's right. Where's the script we wrote last night? And he looks at me and he goes, told you. And I was like, oh my God.
What?
And he was right. They changed it right then and there. And luckily, it wasn't so much that I couldn't work with it, but it was like, he's right. So I learned a valuable lesson right away. Don't get too deep into it. Leave room for, any type of adjustments and whatnot. And so when I did the feature film, it took like 3 years to come out on Lionsgate, but it finally came out. And I also learned too another lesson as an actor. You just work, keep working. Don't worry about when they come out. You could be sitting still waiting for something to come out, and then 3 years later, you haven't done anything, right? Yeah. And so my philosophy is just work, work, work. Your roses will pop up behind you. You can look back and go, oh, cool, and then, but I'm always working like ahead, booking things out in front of me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, nonetheless, I did that film. 3 years later, I'm watching it, and it took, I don't know, many times of watching it before I realized, wait a minute, that's my scene, mine and his scene, because Vivica isn't even speaking. She's just looking at us, as we go back and forth, and I get killed right away. I mean, this is one of those shoot 'em up, like literally, like, I don't know, like 30 people died.
Why do they always gotta kill the Latino
first?
As
long as I open up the film, which is weird, I open up films and I close them sometimes. It's so weird. But nonetheless, that's kind of like, what happened.
Well, as a filmmaker, we're always, even as a producer, I'm always like, okay, next one. Okay. I'm always doing pre-production even before the production. So I'm always involved in a film, and then once it gets to production, I'm already on the next film.
Exactly.
So it's always like next. I think there was a year when I had like 6 films. And it was just such a busy year that next thing you know, the year's over, and I was like, wait, what did I do all year?
It becomes a blur, and you sometimes forget about, like, where am I in time, Cause
and you're like, what day is it? What day of the week is it? Wait, what? Because we have so not normal schedules, know?
Like today's Sunday.
Yeah.
It's just, but yeah, no, you're right. It can get blurry sometimes, especially if, like as an actor, you have multiple characters that you're working on, auditioning with, and your head I've gotten to a point where it's like, wait a minute, I need to back up. I have too many like personalities in my head, too many characters going on, and it can get confusing, so.
Yeah, for sure. Like I always wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be like actor dancer, but of course my parents were like, that's not a real career. And of course my head was like, well, something similar to acting, film.
There you go.
And so they were like, film's not a career either. And I was like, well, fine, I guess I'll go be a teacher. I'll do something easy. I'll do preschool. I'll do pre-K. So that's how I ended up being a teacher and a filmmaker. And I babysat all through like growing up. I've got 3 brothers, so it's more like, you're the older sister, watch your brother. Make sure he eats, or he fell off his bike, and it's always surrounded by children and trying to like. So I guess I kind of fell into it, and I was like, this is easy. I've been doing this my whole life. Right. Sure, I'll be a teacher.
No
right?
doubt.
But I think there's a sense of just joy when you're an educator that I cannot explain. It's seeing that growth from beginning to end that it's just priceless. Like, I love the preschool age because you can see them become more independent. You see them tie their shoes. You see them learn how hard it is to put on a jacket. And like, these are skills that as adults we're like, yeah, I'll put on a jacket. Why can't you put on your jacket?
Yeah.
But it really humbles me, and you can see like, we all start from somewhere. And I think that's the ideology, or that's the way of thinking that I kind of want to approach everything. We all start from humble beginnings. We all start somewhere, So yeah, I did a lot of musical theater when I was in college, because I was like, I'm in college, you can't tell me what to do anymore, right?
Right.
So then now that I've been going back to acting, I love it. Like, I love it so much. And I think you're right. Like, just having that fresh mind of not memorizing the script line for line, you know? Yeah. I think just my theater days, or like my improv days, like, I'm so good at absorbing the content and making the line mine.
That's the magic part of it. Because, I mean, I direct as well, and I do my own movies and whatnot. But to me, I guess because in the position or view of an actor, and even with that little lesson there of like not learning it so hardcore, is that's when the magic comes out, when you're just kind of just bringing yourself or what you got to it, and the other actor is too, and then there's something's going to come out that wasn't scripted, that wouldn't be restrained and more natural. Mm-hmm. When the actor gets to be themselves, if you will, within the character. But they kind of, you're going to get things that happen that you didn't anticipate. But if, much like what I was doing with, driving to LA, I was so locked in the script, I wouldn't be able to adjust and do what I had to do. I mean, I luckily I did, but not as easy as this guy who was so loose and not even married to the script. And he fell right in and could just, light up the screen. And it's always good to have somebody acting opposite someone who's got something to give you back.
Right. I definitely feel like the dynamic is more just authentic, and like I said, I really love acting. I've loved acting since I was like 8. And so for me, it's more of like I get the privilege of embodying this character. And I get so excited about, embodying other characters, like figuring out what makes them tick, like what is exciting about this character, what do they not like, what do they like. So we shot a feature film and I played a paranormal investigator. And the role was written with me in mind. So I'm very bubbly. I'm very like, so this character was written in a way that kind of accentuates my bubbliness. Yeah. Right? Oh, yeah. But I still wanted to dive in. I did like 3 months of like just character work. Like what is the relationship to her supporting actors? Like what? And I love world building. I think just really putting yourself into this whole new world is what I love most about acting. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about like stepping into their world, or what's the process for you?
I'm still learning. I come from the school of I don't even come from the school. I'll be honest with you. I created my own school. You know what I mean? I just do. So many times I've heard in music and film, oh, that's industry standard. I'm like, what? I don't do industry standard. I just do it my way. And when I say it, I don't do it like, arrogantly. No, I just go and do. I mean, I don't know, sometimes we're better when we're not locked into something and we're just kind of flowing. But industry standard, I mean, I study all the time different things, not just from one, like, what are those acting techniques? Meisner, Adler, all that stuff, right? Once I kind of get the gist of what they're asking about, okay, got it. I don't need more. I don't need, because, I looked up, I studied, I guess, if you will, or at least referred to Robert Rodriguez, the director, and he has a great video online called the 10-Minute Film School. And to me, it capsulizes everything, for you, where he says, you all can go to school and learn this, but you're going to be in a class of 30 people who do things just like you. You know what I mean? But the one guy who has no training and just has, just maybe gifted, might be just, luck, or just has, that uniqueness that stands out from everyone else. Why? Because he tackled himself, he learned, and he's working within the industry, but he's not like all these other 30 people that are cookie cutter that know the same information. So to me, I was like, yes, I'm on the right track. So I, early on in my working career, I was a bartender over at the Hotel del Coronado. So I met everyone from like Bill Clinton down to Tommy Lee from Motley Crue going nuts on a waitress, like he used to back in the day. And, but I mean, the array of people that I met there, I mean, Baywatch filmed there when I was there, which kind of dates me way back then. And I met old actors, James Earl Jones, Eddie Albert, Dick Clark,
He's great, James Earl Jones.
Yeah, right. I mean, the array of people I met, and at the time, acting was nowhere near my mind. I was like 24, and I didn't act till 40, so I was just nowhere near that realm. And I always asked myself, why am I meeting all these people in this industry? And years later, it kind of comes, full circle. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that's what I needed to experience in life and know about and have all these references. So essentially my research was done before, and I even had a full circle moment. 25 years later to the year, I did a movie at the Hotel Del called Daydream Hotel.
I was in that movie.
You were in that movie, okay. So I'm
super great.
Right, and it was like the most recent film done there in like 40 years or something, and
it was
right, and
it was
so
iconic.
So when I went for the premiere there and the screening of it, to run into two old bartenders I work with, don't get me wrong, you make good money there. I just didn't do well with the money in your pocket,
Yeah.
Lots of cash, right?
Yeah.
But, so they make a great living. They're, but I run into them like, hey, what's up? What are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm here for the film. I'm like, what's up with you? They're like, oh, we still work here. I'm like, bro, it's all good. I mean,
It's fine.
it was such an awesome job. And trust me, I'd do it to this day if I could, and easy money, walk out for a few hours, walk out with your pockets full of cash. And so all that kind of just, my entire life led to this, I guess, industry, because I didn't start till I was 40. And the benefit of starting later in life, and I tell this to people, I don't mind sharing my knowledge when I'm on set, is that the pool of actors at my age is much smaller than when you're 20. You're talking about, you got the big pool, the big old public pool when you're 20. And then when you get to the older ages, there's less actors out there, less people.
It's a private
pool. Exactly. And it gets a little, maybe that's beneficial. I mean, you still got to, have skills and deliver, but, there's less competition, if you will, out there, so.
Yeah. For us as actors, it helps if you have a background of observing people.
Yes.
And I think what happened to me was I was the second in my family. It was just like, yeah, shut up. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're going to do what your brother's going to do because we don't have money.
Yeah.
And it was just like, all right, whatever. I'm just along for the ride. And I think I was just such a quiet kid growing up, but I observed everything. And I think that soaked in. And I observed people's nonverbal, people's, reactions to things. And then as a teacher, I get to observe this little microcosm of 15 different personalities interacting with each other,
Yeah.
And I can relate and think about, oh, where have I observed that? Oh, okay, kind of like this. And then,
Yeah, very much so. It's
just portray it. And
yeah, exactly. I mean, you mentioned studying characters and creating this whole world, and I am guilty of not doing that. You know what I mean? Like I should probably do more of that. But my system seems to be working for me. I think everyone, you need to find what works for you, find your method, and then go for it, And
100%.
Yeah, and the method does involve with, continuing to learn, I mean, there's different levels, but yeah, that's just me. I don't give it a lot of thought. Maybe it's from that first experience, of not getting too deep into it, so you can adjust, because I really think that if you're not so deep into it and then you're working with an actor who's really good, you can vibe off that. You can create something that you didn't even think about. But if you're locked into what you came up with, then it doesn't give a lot of room for some magic to happen.
I think I have encountered some actors as a producer and director. We've had a couple of sets, and you were actually on one of our amazing 48s with Rich
right.
Barbell.
Yes,
and
that's
I
right.
think what stood out about you was that you were flexible, you were pliable, we had in a 48, is for those of you that don't know, it's a 48-hour competition. You have 48 hours to create a film from start to finish, and it's quite a challenging venture. So if you don't have all your ducks in a row, it can get a little complicated. But we actually had a great team, and Anthony Dela Cruz was an actor on this set, and it requires people to be very flexible. You only have one day to shoot everything. And you were great in that. And
Thank
I think it's because we switched the role, I think maybe 3-4 times.
Yeah.
And you weren't upset. You weren't,
Yeah, I'm like, whatever. I mean, at this point, when you've had a corporate background, anything's better than being in the office, man. I'm like, hey, you know what? You're paying, not in this case, but 48, you don't get paid. But, just I love doing it now, and the fact that they pay you outrageous money sometimes to do something so simple, you're like, really? Like, how can you be like mad, angry, or not want to be here? I'm like, it's so easy, I'm not easy, but easy in the fact that you're not monotonous and getting crazy and like, you're in a cubicle or you're in an office, wherever you're at, So to me, any day out of the office, I'll do whatever. So, and then, you work, I mean, we had a great crew, Rich Barbell, you know what I mean? So, there was some, when you're working with other like-minded or professional people, things can be fun and things can roll, and you get that on any level. And the way I view it is that, we're all doing the same thing, but there's different levels, right? The beginning stages, you don't have certain pros in place, and things take longer and mess up, and you get a little higher up, you got people that know a little more what they're doing.
That's true.
You get a little higher up, they're even more pro, and you're like, oh my God, I'm at the pro level, and they're just working like clockwork. How do these 50 to 100 people know what they're doing when it doesn't seem like, but everything's getting done? You're like, okay, and so, I've been fortunate to work at the high levels, and I still work at the lower levels. I don't care. I'm not about, what it means or what it looks like. I just like doing this, and I finally found, after 40 years of in corporate jobs and whatever, and trying music, I'm like, oh, I love it on a set. That's where that's where all this accumulated and where I'm supposed to be, because I still use music. I compose music for movies sometimes and theme songs, so I still get to do my music part, so. Yeah,
I love that. And speaking of big film sets, I was thinking of, we shot a feature film with Lou Ferrigno up in San Francisco.
Wow, I was just thinking about him recently. That's weird.
And it was like you said, there was like 150 people. Everybody's doing their thing. It's like running like a well-oiled machine. And I'm part of crew. I'm supposed to be like talent wrangling. We're shooting an MMA fight. So
yeah.
it's crazy, and I'm like, wow, like it just runs so smooth, and you just have a great time on set when people are really like-minded and they have the same goal as you. And we were recently on a feature film set here in San Diego.
Yes, yes.
So that was really fun to see you.
Yeah,
Latinos.
and we were playing on friggin' immigrants, Latinos.
Of course.
I mean, honestly, it was definitely a higher budget film, so. Sometimes, like I said, I've been in roles where I can't believe I've even had them. I've been in an $80 million blockbuster and, seen the last 20 minutes and, and I've done all that. And then at the same time, I've occasionally done background just to see what it's like, or, this type of actor, or, A-listers, what's his movie set like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's this, it's already out. So like Top Gun 2.
Yeah.
I did a movie where, I'm at the level of Top Gun 2, and I'm a principal actor, but then I go and do a job because I want to see what Tom Cruise is set like, and I was background, and I did nothing. You don't even see me in the movie. I don't even care. Why? Again, better than a day in the office. I'm hanging out. I'm munching on food, hanging out, meeting, friends that I know, and get to see how Tom Cruise's set runs, and maybe one day I'll have the opportunity to work, on that set, and I know what it's like because I, did a little background in that area. But again, I've done different levels, and the fact is I'll do whatever level because I just like it. I love it, and it's not even about the money for me. Money's great, don't get me wrong, but sometimes you do it
just for the fun of it.
Just for the fun of it, or it helps your career or something, yeah.
I took that background job because, I love acting. And a lot of people got on my back about, but it's, it's the immigrant stereotype.
I know,
it's the Latino stereotype. When are you going to play something else? What's your take on, the Latino stereotypes that we get cast in?
Well, like early on, my first 2 roles were cholos, right? And it was a great position to be in because I observed, like you said, I observed the entire set on both, and who's doing what, how it works, and and my next role was, bodyguard. It wasn't, I was Latino, I spoke in Spanish, but I wasn't a cholo, And then after that, I did something else where I'm completely different. And my whole thing is I don't like doing the same role over and over. Yeah. I've been a doctor. I've been, a crazy agent,
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my favorite roles where I was a crazy agent, and that was specifically written for me, and it wasn't about my characteristics. It was a totally different character. But I've done so many different things, grandpa, dad, I play the heavy mafioso guy. I could be, the CEO boss guy, because, I can articulate, so it didn't really, for me, it wasn't really an issue for me. I've been able to do other roles. Guess what? I got to film at Baja Studios where Titanic was filmed, and, on every set, you meet people and you become friends with them. And then guess what? Selena, the series from Netflix, filmed there. And then I got auditions through there. I didn't come in through Hollywood. I came in through Mexico, And so, like when people are like, stand, what? No, it's your way. Why did I get all these credits in film without an agent? I learned through Selena that there's only so far you can go without an agent in Hollywood. Yeah. Hollywood's the one that's got it locked down.
Yeah.
Everywhere, the rest of the world, especially I learned through this movie, The Rescue, the rest of the world contributes and works together to get these movies that are Hollywood level. Hollywood has it locked down. You got to be in the club. You got to do all that. Be, SAG, got to have an agent, all that to work in their area. And I'm getting to do all that, but it's not through Hollywood, right? Yeah. So then I learned, you know what? There's other people who are making movies. It doesn't have to be that way. And Hollywood's falling apart right now. I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
I mean, they're moving. They're talking about new Warner Brothers in Vegas now. Mm-hmm. All this stuff is happening. So I finally decided to get an agent, okay, I want to get into network, and I joked about this, that, I see it as, I worked at the beach house, you know what I mean? Yeah. The mansion in the hills, done all this stuff, but I could not get into the gated community of the networks. Yeah. And literally a week later, I had auditioned for a network show, I Think You Should Leave, 2 times prior that month. And then a third one comes in, direct to hire, didn't even have to audition.
Sweet.
And all of a sudden, literally a week later of having that conversation, I'm SAG eligible. Right? And then so I'm like, I do believe that you have to manifest and kind of put it out there.
And it does take 3 SAG vouchers,
right.
To get
so,
SAG-E.
I'm SAG-E, and I'm going to ride that fence because I like being doing non-union and where all the young talent might be coming up through, or the new, Tarantino, Scorsese, Rodriguez, those guys are out there, and you want to find them and like, Adam Sandler, create the teams that continue to work and make movies, right? Instead of being locked down. Now, through my SAG eligibility, I landed a role on, finally, at Paramount Studios, CBS. Yes. I got into the gated community, and that's due out in the fall, and it stars an Oscar winner. It's her new series, and but so then I accomplished that as well, but there's not one way to do it. I said I was fortunate. I got all these credits without an agent. When you're becoming an actor, you have to think about what your brand is. Who do I want to be? Who do I want this person to be? Yeah. Do I want to be the pedophile in that movie and then not be able to get another real serious role? No, I won't take that role. You know what I mean? Because they're out there. Yeah. Do I want to be the cholo? No problem. But, is it a real movie? I took the early ones because I needed them. Yeah. But after that, I'm like, no, unless it's a really significant role, I'd be a cholo again. You know what I mean? Yeah. And trust me, there's stories that you may require you to be that, and I'm open to them. Yeah. But as I went along the way, I had to figure out who's Anthony De La Cruz going to be, that's not my real name. I mean, but it is my real name, the fact that it's my mother's maiden name, Okay. So that's where I still am kind of me, but I can create Anthony De La Cruz, and how do I want him to be? Is he an action star? Is he is he a romantic star? Is he, all this? Well, it's really my choice. And when I was building it, especially when I didn't have an agent, getting my IMDb credits and all that stuff, and my reel, which I edit and do all on my own,
you essentially had to create your own identity, your own persona. Yes. And I think that when you do come from another industry that's not just hardcore Hollywood, you have that, I guess, just that 360-degree identity. Like, you already have so many elements and things that you can bring to the table. So
Instagram, Facebook, and then, of course, IMDb.
Awesome.
And my web hub, anthonydelacruz.com, will take you to all that, so you can just go there and then click on the different links that take you different places.
Awesome. Well, it's been amazing chatting with you. We've explored a lot of traditional Latino culture plus modern, and the duality of combining both.
Can I add one last thing before?
Yeah, go for it.
This is really to kind of talk about the Latino thing. I was fortunate enough that I had a friend invite me and take me to the 50th gala for women in film, and Eva Longoria was honored, and America Ferrera was honored, and Jane Fonda presented the award to America Ferrera and Ferrara, and I can't remember her name. Her name is Annie. Was it Gonzalez? No, I can't remember her last name. I think it is Gonzalez. From the Cheeto movie, they presented the awards, and to see that to see Eva Longoria's take on the Latino culture, we all work hard, every, Latino works at whatever level we do, we work hard, and she works hard, and she was pushing, my idea was all for women, in film, and she was pushing that, because she had just done the Cheeto movie, and she was saying how, I was trying to get the studio to approve my movie. I was going to my first time directing, and and thank you. And a lot of times those actors will do this. Thank you for the opportunity. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. And she's like, I had my buddy who's been in the industry 30 years, with, and he was, I pitched him, that I was going to pitch to the studios, and then he's like, okay, cool, good pitch. Now go outside, pretend you're a white 30-year-old man, and come back and do it again. And she was like, what? And then she hit her for a second. And she said, I realized that I'm coming in, like, how would a white 30-year-old man come in and do it? He wouldn't come in groveling and thank you and, for the no, he would be coming in, he would, like, make his presence known, and here's why I'm the one. So she comes in and repitches it like a 30-year-old white man, she said. And then next I'm in the studio getting, then they're giving me the okay to make the movie, and she goes, those of us who put the work in, the time in, we deserve these opportunities and jobs. We shouldn't, we're going to be grateful and humble, but we shouldn't be thinking that we're not deserving of this. Mm-hmm. We've done our work, and now we're here, and it's time, And I did a no-budget film out of the Imperial Valley. Hollywood films out there all the time. And, Star Wars, Dune, what do you call it? Toyota commercials off the sand dunes out there, Three Kings, everyone goes out there all the time. Dick Tracy out there, everything. And I have a friend and now, partner, director, writer, in film out there. His name is Roy Durantes, and he used to work for the local news. And, he interviewed me one time for the news, and it was amazing how he edited and got on the air within like 5 hours. Like, whoa. And so I talked to him one time saying, you know what, you got the skills and even if it's mobile filmmaking, but people need to start making movies out here because Hollywood comes here to film, but everyone thinks they have to leave to go do it. Yep. So he finally makes a film, and I helped, I helped collaborate with him and everything. And it was called Ni Una Más. Okay. And it was during the time of COVID, the violence against women, this brings women into it too, went up way high, murder rate, violence.
In Juarez,
yeah, in both sides of the border, all over the world. When we were all in quarantine, people got violent against each other. People, men were getting crazy, and the murder rate and violence went way high. And so he wanted to do a movie. He likes to do movies with message. So we did a movie regarding, that, violence against women and stalking and all that other stuff. And, we made it and with zero budget, zero. It was community. Okay. And man, we could talk forever. I'm going to try to wrap this up really quick. It's community, right? Everyone contributed, locations, even my family's ranch, was used for a scene, the opening scene. We did all that. And the first outing wasn't a lot of attention because, we had just done it and we did it in certain ways. And then we started hitting the festival circuit. And then all of a sudden we started getting attention overseas and in Europe, getting awards, best director, best thriller, this and that. And then all of a sudden, the U.S. is interested. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we want your film here. And it's like, wait a minute, you didn't even give us the time of day. But, it happens a lot, even in music, where you get notoriety elsewhere, and then the U.S. suddenly becomes interested in something that was already here. Well, nonetheless, he's gotten awards. This film is still going. We got to screen this film at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood. Nice. I mean, zero budget. Movies can be made. Go do it. If you don't have a budget, figure it out. I mean, he did, we did, and now we're on movie number 2, which we're working on and we'll hopefully release in 2025, called Night Children. And this is about the exploitation and abuse of children, obviously. I have many irons in the fire. Awesome. I don't just do one thing. And my recommendation to everyone, just do whatever you can, do everything you can. I mean, because the more skills you have, more feathers in your cap, the more opportunity you're going to get. So
That's right. So we are just about to wrap it up. I love chatting about, just the dualities and how we can, still be true to ourselves, and heard from some truly, truly amazing, insightful words from Anthony De La Cruz, as well as some fun stories of his acting career. Wow. As a Latino filmmakers. We are always, out here doing our best. If you got any scripts or any projects or anything, you're looking for some actors, definitely don't hesitate to reach out.
Right. Exactly.
So thank you for coming, Anthony De La Cruz. This is amazing. I loved having you here.
Thank you for having me.
My first guest.
Oh, see? I'm always at the beginning or the end of a project.
There you go. All right, folks. Be sure to check out and follow Anthony De La Cruz on Facebook and Instagram. Follow the Sabina the Latina Facebook page for more updates of what we have coming up next. Well, we had a great time, and with that, it's time to say goodbye to everybody. So thank you for listening, and thank you, Anthony. Shout out to my amazing brother, Jesus Olvero, who's doing the sound recording. And we'll catch you in the next episode. Adios. Bye.